I don't really know what I'm doing here. Just gonna do some spitballing about my time in Gen 9 draft. I have stats displayed about the mons I used. I guess we can start with Paldea decks in general. So, yeah, Paldea decks pre-DLC, there's a huge hazard removal problem. I got Treads in the kickoff draft, but had to resort to Sarina in another when the Dawnfins were gone. Another reason for Sarina was that there was a severe lack of good defensive grass types in Paldea decks. There's only a Moongus, which doesn't even resist ground, by the way. I honestly think that was one of the main reasons why Great Tusk was so good, and why Palafin eventually got banned. The lack of good grass types meant ground type stocks were rising, but also the lack of good spinners meant spin blocker stocks were rising. So in that same draft with Sarina, I drafted Palosand because it can challenge the best spinners, and I even used Palosand in the OU ladder and it was doing really good. And now let's go talk about Terra. It made a lot of things broken, I can't deny that. But on the fun side, it made bulky normal types really usable. Because I had Terra Fairy Ursaring and it was invincible because of Eviolite. And I've always wanted to draft the Dunsparce or try Ursaring again, but I always run out of space for them. Another format I did was the Ubers format. It was a bit scuffed though, because the new Origin forms, they were programmed to work without their item. So I had stuff like Leftovers or Choppleberry, Dialga Origin. But being able to work with the banned stuff like Last Respects proved fun. It made up for the small amount of Ubers available. I didn't really get to spam Last Respects with Basculegion, but I was pretty happy with how my Uber's Rain team turned out. Building defensively in this tier felt impossible with like Haraiden and Miraiden and Joe Biden. But access to Nat decks and Megas allowed me to pick heavy hitters with staying power. So balance was still possible. In fact, I think that was my whole drafting style throughout the year. I always have this idea of running hyper offense, so I try to pick up some dedicated stackers with a spin blocker. But I always end up fearing the broken stuff and drafting countermeasures, which means less speed and more bulk. Here, we can check out my teams over here. My Uber's team is Rain, but Giratina and Dialga Origin aren't exactly the best abusers. I still got to bracket phase with this team, and was just one win away from top 8. Desvelado has my Palosand Sarina core. I definitely attempted a hyper offense formula here, but never actually did it until finals, which I did end up winning. Gudra completely doesn't belong here, but it was my way to react to Terra Spectrier and Elegy. The kickoff draft, I tried to make Annihilate the star of the show, but Chien-Pao actually impressed me the most. It was my first time using it and I did not regret it at all. Now, not only was I part of the first battle of this draft, I was one of the only 2 people in a 1,000+ player league that had a Bruxish. Did it do anything? Nope. I don't know why I did that. So Legends Alliance had my Form, Pivot, and Priority spam teams. Hyper Offense is still on the table because I have Grimora and Gourgeist. But I honestly did not need that much hazard support with a Terra Water Banded Jet Punch. Also, having access to so many forms in this team made prepping really fun. I ended up winning this league, and it was my grand finals opponent that did the scuffing because they brought a Torkoal but forgot to put on Drought. Now this is my low tier draft. All my mons were Intimidate except for the 3 specially bulky mons and Electrode, I guess. But Wochian technically has Intimidate, so this team had their moments of brilliance, but also moments of huge disappointment, especially Gastrodon. Without Scald, it's not worth being the most expensive mon on the board. Well, one of the most expensive mons, as you can see. And continuing with theme teams, we have my Sand and Snow Fusion team. I still made it to playoffs with this team, but this was where the burnout started happening. I'm using Vespiquen unironically. Yeah. And now we have the VGC leagues. This one was a surprise. I did really good despite this being my first time in VGC. I mean, I dabbled in VGC for Scarlet and Violet in like the first 2 weeks of its release, but that's about it. But yeah, this team was incredibly fun. I got to try out so many wacky strategies, and I ended up as the runner-up in this league. The next VGC league, I got too much stuff stolen from me, and my team building wasn't the best. Yeah, I don't know. I was kind of, I guess the pressure of being the runner-up from last time got to me, and that's why I was not really happy with my team. Here is Legends Alliance. I could say the same thing because I won last season and now the pressure is on. I tried to do a throwback to a Gen 8 team I used in draft. But the team was decent. It was my plays that were not that good because, I don't know, I could have built stuff differently or played stuff better. But yeah, I like this team. It's a throwback. And that's it. That's all the 9 drafts I was in. I guess I could rank them. If I were to rank them from 9th to best, my 9th favorite draft would have to be the first one, the BBL, which is the Ubers League. I'm sorry, it was really fun. It's just the scuff with the items on the origin forms was kind of messed up. There was also nothing else special about it. It's just Ubers. 8th favorite would be Legends Alliance Season 4. This is my this was my throwback team. Like I said, I did not like how I played or how I built my mons. Or it could just be that the DLC mons are infuriating. That Ogre Pawn stuff, that was not fun. I did not like fighting Ogre Pawn. Next up, my 7th favorite draft is the kickoff draft. A huge amount of players, and I love the stat tracking. The only issue was that I guess teams could be very repetitive given that amount of players, and me losing calcing the wrong Palafin form was very anticlimactic. 6th would be the TNT Fall Draft. Once again, we chalk this up to burnout, I guess. I really hated how lots of my options were getting sniped in the drafting process. I just ended up switching and trading off many members of my team. It was a mess. So next, my fifth favorite draft would be the DDL Season 4. This was my Sand and Snow Fusion team. The production value did step up a bit, I guess, because they had PRs over here. It was fun to read the PRs. As for the next one, which is DDL Season 3, the previous season, I just found it more fun because I liked my team. And the dock was actually a little more pleasant to look at. As for the PRs, it wasn't very consistent. I think Orange was in charge of it, or he just volunteered to do it, and you know, stuff happens. And now for the top 3, my top 3 favorite drafts from the 1 year I've been playing. Third would have to be Legends Alliance Season 3. I also won this one, like the 4th place draft. And why it's my favorite? They had so much things going on. There were pick'ems. They didn't have PRs, but they had a fantasy league, which was fun to watch. Lots of stat tracking, and my form spam, priority spam, and pivot spam team was just too fun to use. I might use that team again as a throwback in a future league. Second favorite draft, it would have to be the TNT Summer Draft. Production value was actually better than the TNT Fall Draft because we had streams. I think there was a video promoting the start of the draft. That was fun. And I was just overall very surprised with how I did as a runner-up. And then my most favorite draft is the low tier, the Forge Season 11. Even though I didn't win the whole thing, I ended up in quarterfinals at the bracket phase. The team was just hilarious. I had so much Intimidate, 1 Electrode, and then 3 specially defensive walls. And seeing how my opponents would react to the Intimidate spam, they still had production value too. The pick'ems, they had videos for the pick'ems. There were people debating about which teams would win the matchup. That was really fun to watch, especially when you hear their lack of faith on my Intimidate team, or sometimes when they back me up. That was fun. They had PRs too. I don't think there were videos for that, but it was a decent PR. But yeah. Oh, they also had Set of the Week. That's cool. I think I should suggest that to other leagues. I forgot to do that. Set of the Week is really funny. But yeah, this is the funniest season because of my Intimidate spam. I can't believe something so dumb actually made it to the bracket phase. Yeah, that's about it. I entered 9 leagues, made it to playoffs in all of them, and only won 2 of them. The differential of 109. So yeah, I might get back into draft actually, because my busyness is starting to die down. So as for making videos on future draft leagues, that is still a question, but we'll see.